Hi, Gavin.
Hi, Louie.
We're here in my luxurious penthouse suite apartment.
You turned the AC off less than a minute ago, and I am already dying.
You're like turning into that puddle from Alex Mack.
Yeah,
like,
I am the secret life.
Yeah, of Alex Mack.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everyone to the Mixed Reviews.
Hi, I'm Gavin.
I'm Louie, and we are here to talk your faces off.
Yeah.
About.
Well, what we do is we take an actor or director or film subject, and we dissect it.
That was
that dark?
That was too dark. Creepy. That's too much. Gavin.
Too much.
You want to try it again?
Yeah. We take an actor or a director or a film subject and we cut it open and take its guts out.
Wow, that
worse.
There's the charm and energy that I love so much, and I expect every episode.
Well, I just want you to know it's August, which means it's basically Halloween. So.
Okay, I know this is like a bit that you do, but like truly it is too early.
No.
Truly.
It is never too early for Halloween in our hearts.
Okay.
In our cold, dead hearts.
You know what? I did go see Hocus Pocus live with Kathy and Jimmy in the audience.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
I had friends that went to that.
She was like barely interested in being there. Like, she's excellent and great, but mostly she's like, listen, I'm an activist first and an actor second now, so whatever.
I like that in between the last time we were together, you saw Kathy and Jimmy live.
Yeah.
I saw Bette Midler live.
Wow.
And we both saw Sarah Jessica Parker dead.
She's just zombieing around New York City.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Wow. What a life we lead. We live. Speaking of living and laughing and loving, last episode we talked about living icon and legend, Miss Cher herself. We asked you guys to go to our Twitter poll and vote on what your favorite Cher movie is, and I've got the results in my hands.
Oh my goodness.
Your pick, Mask, came in last place with 9%. Silkwood came at 18%. My pick, Come Down to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, or whatever it's called, came in second with 23%, and a late surge brought Moonstruck to the top with 50% of the votes. All around, no wrong answers.
You did no wrong answers. And let me tell you, I am not surprised. And honestly, like, Moonstruck deserves it.
Yes.
As I've said before on the show, oftentimes I will try and pick, first of all, I'll pick my favorite performance no matter what, but also I usually try and go the less obvious route because I want people to see these films that maybe they perhaps have not seen.
Because you're like so like interesting and weird and kooky.
Yeah.
And just like
all those things. You forgot handsome.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did I forget?
Let me tell you, that's why I host a podcast and not videocast. But I mean, I was happy to see the people that did like Mask, and I was actually really happy to see what a strong showing, Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean had.
Yeah, same.
Because I really liked that movie, and I didn't know so many people had seen it, so
yeah,
maybe I should have more faith in our audience.
Maybe, yeah. Also, just a quick shout out, we have some people saying, no love for mermaids. We have lots of love for mermaids.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I just didn't know which ones, like, was I going to really knock out Silkwood in favor of mermaids?
Right.
Probably not. Also, just a quick note, I did go see Mamma Mia too.
Yeah, and you hated it.
And I hated it!
I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with you. Somebody hates fun. It's Louie.
I don't hate fun, and honestly, when the movie became fun, like, honestly, when Cher came, I was, like, super into it, but before that, I was like,
the big dancing queen number didn't do anything for you?
When they're on the boats coming in, that was fun. But before that, I was like, the C-list ABBA music, I was like, kissing the teacher, like what?
I do love the fact that they give so much time to a song about assaulting a teacher.
Exactly. And Lily James is fine. Like all those young, attractive people are fine. But I was like, this is boring. But anyway, I digress. Cher was the best part of that movie, and I'm not surprised. So... There.
I disagree, but it's fine.
Moving on, though.
Yes.
Who are we talking about this week, Gavin?
Why, we're talking about none other than the Scottish legend known as Ewan McGregor.
Yes, Ewan McGregor, my loins quake and quiver for thee.
I actually am sweating even more now, just thinking about him.
Yeah,
so,
true.
I know it's not possible.
I'm just a pile of water.
Exactly. So I... have the honor of taking us into our rewind.
Yes,
so why don't I get it started?
Educate me.
Ewan McGregor was born in Perth and raised in Crieff. Both of those are in Scotland. He was born on March 31st, 1971. He is not, in fact, a Disney-created character in relation to Scrooge McDuck.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
I thought he was. Who knew?
He looks like he was made in a lab.
He does look like he was made in a lab.
As opposed to, like, Zac Efron, who is, like, a rubber human being.
Yeah.
Ewan
McGregor was made in a lab. Zac Efron was made in a sex shop.
There it is. There it is. I like how we're acting like as if we would say no to either of them. Oh my god, Zac Efron.
His mother, Carol Diane, is a retired teacher at Crieff High School. His father, James Charles Stewart, Jim McGregor, is a retired physical education teacher. He has an older brother named Colin, and his uncle is the actor Dennis Lawson, who was in the Star Wars trilogy, in the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yes, I saw that.
And he has said in many, many interviews that his like love of theater and acting.
My uncle would come, who was an actor in London, and he would come up to Scotland in this, there wasn't anybody like him where I lived, and he was also my uncle, and I remember that excitement about when he would come to visit, and I wanted to be like him. I think I wanted to be anything that he was, So from a really, really young age, I wanted to be an actor. And I remember, going to see him and stuff. I remember seeing him in theatre in London when I was a kid, going to see him in plays, in small theatres to begin with. And then later on in the West End, he became very popular in musicals. He did quite a few musicals in London. That's why I wanted to be an actor, I'm sure. It's interesting. I often wonder if he hadn't been an actor, would I still have... Because I really feel that this is the right thing for me to be doing. I don't have any qualms about that. But I wonder if I would have thought about it if he hadn't sort of paved the way for me.
I think I saw an interview where he said him and his brother wore out the VHS of Star Wars because they were so excited to see their uncle like on the big screen. I mean, give me a break. Like he must have been like 8, 9 around the time when Star Wars came out. It's like just the perfect timing for a young boy to witness Star Wars, and also casually your uncle's in it, so whatever.
He attended the Independent Morrison's Academy in Crieff, and he tells the story of being in a car at the age of 16, and his mother explaining to him because he wasn't having a good time and wasn't really getting the education that he wanted because he wanted, a life in the arts. His mother told him he could drop out of school.
We weren't allowed, you have to make choices, don't you? When you're in Britain anyway, you have to make choices in secondary school. And well, I did know what I wanted to do when I was 9. I wanted to be an actor. And so by the time I got to 14, 15, and I had to make my decisions of what I wanted to do, well, really all I could do at school that felt good to me and was interested in was art and music. Like, those were my avenues of expression, if you like. Sounds pretentious, but they were. There was the only creative things that I could think of to do. But the school didn't want me to do art and music, so they made me choose one, and I had to do physics and music. That just wasn't me, and I guess my parents could see by the age of 16, when they let me leave school, that I wasn't copping out, that it was really, that this is all I cared about. My mum, I remember very distinctly, we were driving into Crieff and it was raining and the windscreen wipers going like this, and she said, I've spoken to your dad, and if you want to leave school now, you can. I was like, what? I couldn't believe what she was saying.
Sign me up.
I was like, oh, well, I'm not going back to school then. That was it. I got to my mate's house where I was heading, and I went, I'm not going to school. And he went, what? I said, well, I'm not going back to school. My mum said I don't have to go.
Big deal for parents who are teachers.
Right. I wonder if, though, I'm feeling like this, Scottish wilderness of, chasing your dreams. And
he wasn't born in the 1600s, Louis.
Okay, no one can tell me otherwise if he was or was not in the movie Brave, okay?
He's only 47. He was actually one of the bears, one of the 3 little bears.
No, he was not.
No, I'm kidding.
I would have loved that if he was, though.
You would think Disney would tap into that.
Hello.
Or someone would tap that.
Hello.
Wow, we're terrible tonight.
Lots of tapping.
After leaving school at the age of 16, he worked as a stagehand at the Perth Theatre and studied a foundation course in drama at Kirkcaldy College of Technology before moving to London to study drama at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama when he was only 18 years old.
I love all these names of these schools. It's so, extra.
So he tells a lot of stories about his time there and like how different it was than other theater schools. One of the big things was they kind of sent you out for auditions like in your second year. They brought people in to like represent you and everything. Prior to his graduation from Guildhall, he got his first big role. It's funny, he was up for both. He talks a bit about this. He was up for both a movie and this show. But he didn't get the movie and was super depressed. And then he got this 6-episode miniseries, Dennis Porter's, Channel 4 series, Lipstick on Your Collar. I was able to find some of this, but not anything real coherent, because, most people who know Dennis Porter, he's the guy who created The Singing Detective. He creates these shows that are sort of like jukebox musicals with lip syncing.
Love that.
And so the show was about Ewan McGregor, as a Russian translator. He's a Britishman, but he works in an office translating Russian things, in the, in the 60s. And it's got a lot of, dubbed over lip syncing to songs. I found this one clip, and he even talks about it in interviews about having to do this take after take of singing Fats Domino's Blueberry Hill.
So the camera's there, and as I start singing, I found my thrill, the camera pans away and up into the corner from a close-up to me to reveal the whole world, the whole set, and everybody in it, who all then start singing with me to I found my thrill. So we started that, and we did one take, and then we did another take, and then we did another take, and we did another take, and we did another take. My heart started racing. I was thinking, shit, I started losing my nerve, because we were doing 5 takes, 10 takes, 12 takes. And then Doogie, who had the presence of mind and the grace in his heart to come over to me, and he went, it's not you. And I went, what? He said, it's not you. It's the move. The crane move is quite difficult to get, and they're not getting it properly. Look, it's not you. And I didn't know it wasn't me. I just thought, it's me, I'm sweating, I can't do this. Shit, I've wanted to do this all my life, and I can't do it, in this moment. It was a nightmare. And it was so nice that he thought to do that. And I've always remembered that.
And from there, like, his career, really started to take off. He did a BBC adaptation of Scarlet and Black with young Rachel Weisz.
Casual.
Yeah, exactly. And then he makes his film debut in 1994 in the movie Being Human with Robin Williams. He doesn't have a large role, but it's there. And then his next big break is the very next film he does, which actually starts sort of a collaboration between him and Danny Boyle, which is the film Shallow Grave in 1994, starring him and Christopher Eccleston. And it's great. I don't know if you
I watched her.
Oh, yeah. I like that movie a lot.
Danny Boyle makes, like, really stylish movies.
Yeah, well, Danny Boyle comes from a theater background. Ewan McGregor comes from a theater background. It sort of makes sense that they collaborate as well as they do together.
He would rehearse for maybe a week or so. And he would, because he was a theater director, Danny, and so we would work on the text, and we would work on the text on our feet, and we would block it in a way. We'd be in a rehearsal room with maybe tape marks on the floor, like a theatrical rehearsal room, and it would be just him and us, the actors. And then when we were on set, the first thing that ever happened with a new scene is that he would clear everyone out, and we would have the set, he and the actors, on our own, with no sense of kind of pressure of time. But because we'd already blocked it, it didn't take us very long to knock through the scene again. And if maybe something to do with the light or the set had made a difference, so you would alter what you'd done in rehearsal room on the set.
Because the very next film he does is another Danny Boyle film, one of his most famous films, really introduced him to the world stage, is Trainspotting. He plays an heroin addict, as one is wont to do.
I mean, and what a great heroin addict he plays.
Oh, yes.
Goodness.
He then goes on, 1998, he's cast as a romantic lead in this wonderful movie that I absolutely fucking love called Little Voice. It's so good. He's not the draw in it for me, but, like, he's good in it. Also in 1998, he does Todd Haynes' Velvet Goldmine, and I think it's his first really prominent American accent in a movie.
Right.
And I'll come back to that.
Okay. It just feels like at that moment is when he cemented himself as, like, a, like, not British, but, like, a an actor of the time, like the 90s time, because Trainspotting was such like a seminal like 90s moment. And Velvet Goldmine kind of feels like in the same range of that. Also, I will have you know that I did watch something called Blue Juice, which was after Trainspotting, but before Velvet Goldmine, I believe.
There's a lot of interesting, like, is that, I'm assuming, a British film?
Yeah, and it was...
Because Brastoff also comes in that era.
Yeah, Brastoff was so cute.
Yeah, it's a cute movie.
I love anything that has to do with, like, the Union saying fuck you to Margaret Thatcher. Those are my favorite movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blue Juice is trash. Don't watch it.
And then, like... The year after that comes the big movie, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Yeah. Known to the ages as the best Star Wars film.
Right.
The one
that's what I've said.
Yeah, really. It's just the one that everybody, just like when they think Star Wars, they think Phantom Menace. Ooh.
I will say though, the best part of Phantom Menace, I mean, he's very good in it, but I will say the best part is that fucking music. Like, how dare they, like, what was like the bad guy's name in that movie?
Darth Maul. It's funny, I've watched a bunch of interviews where Ewan McGregor can't remember the bad guy's name either.
Darth Maul with his two-sided lightsaber. Yeah. Iconic. But then also whatever that fucking song is.
The Duel of the Fates.
The Duel, so good. Like, I think I'm happy that these movies exist just for the music.
I have said many times, because I don't like the prequels, and I'm not like jumping on a bandwagon. I just don't think structurally they're great films. I don't think they add very much to the original films either, because part of the original films is mystery and it like wipes all of that out. But the problem with the prequels is there's no real human characters. And I think we sort of talked a little bit about this when we talked about Natalie Portman, and we kind of glossed over it because she's really mistreated as a character.
Yeah. But makes me sad just even thinking about it.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's really, especially that third movie, she's literally confined to a bedroom for the whole film. But, there's no human, there's no like Han Solo type characters. And the closest you get is Ewan McGregor's portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who still is a Jedi Knight. So he's still doing the whole like, but we don't have emotions, Anakin.
Why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me? Don't say that, Master. You're the closest thing I have to a father. Then why don't you listen to me? I am trying. Can you see him? I think he is a she. And I think she's a changeling. In that case, be extra careful. Go and find her. Where are you going, Master? For a drink.
He's very good in it, but like he's talked a lot about how it was really difficult making those movies and how he necessarily didn't have like a great time making them.
My favorite interview piece I've heard is he comes from a theater background. Everything's very real.
Yeah.
Nothing is real in Star Wars.
I was walking around with George when I got the part in the studio where we shot up in north of London called Leavesden, where they ended up shooting all the Harry Potter films. And there was guy, he was showing me around the art department, and there was guys with chainsaws carving this huge submarine out of blocks of polystyrene, and there was a perspex bubble on the top that looked like where we might sit. And I, as we walked round, I said, "Will we go underwater?" and he went, "What?" I said, "Will we go under the water in it?" He went, "There's none of it real." And a little part of me died. Because the truth is, there is none of it real. You know what I mean?
I think because he said these were the first movies that made that kids could watch.
Right.
And, just knowing how special Star Wars is to him and to kids are, so he was like, maybe I should stop talking shit about making these movies.
So he's handcuffed to Star Wars from 99 to 2005. And in between those, he makes, in 2001, Moulin Rouge, which is a big success for him. 2003, he makes Down with Love, which is a personal favorite of mine. And in 2003, he also is in Big Fish. So it's not like he's doing small movies, but he does have smaller movies come out, during those periods. Cause he does this, smaller film called Young Adam with, Tilda Swinton, which is sort of, like slice of life kind of murder mystery. It's really well done and very like, it's weird. It's a movie where there is so much sex, but like none of it is like, ooh, sex. It's like, oh yeah, sex is gross. Yeah, sex is kind of gross.
Sex is definitely gross. I mean, if you're doing it right.
Yeah, exactly. He's done animated work. He did Robots, and he did Valiant.
Yes.
Which I had completely forgotten is a Disney movie.
Yeah, that was during the Bolt era.
Yes. And I feel like nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about Valiant enough, okay, guys? All you Disney faker fans.
But yeah, and like, I don't want to like name, like every, single production he's involved in, but he starts doing big films. He does, Michael Bay's The Island, and then like, towards the middle part of the first decade of the 2000s, he starts to do less big films, and he starts to, he does Woody Allen's Cassandra's Dream. He stars opposite Jim Carrey and I Love You, Philip Morris. And he appeared in the movie Amelia. No one remembers that movie.
I remember that movie only because it's directed by that Indian woman who I really like.
Mira Nair?
Yeah. And also it was kind of like Oscar baity thing for Hilary Swank, but it flopped so hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, no! But I mean, I didn't watch it.
But like, and then he also does one of my other favorite performances of his during that era, which is 2010's The Ghost Rider. I know I'm a terrible person for liking him in a Roman Polanski movie. I know Roman Polanski is canceled, but like, he's good. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ewan's good. Right. Not Roman. Roman's a bad guy.
Roman is actually worst.
Outside of acting, in 2012, he ends up on the main competition jury at Cannes Film Festival. And he's awarded the Donostia Lifetime Achievement Award at the San Sebastian International Film Festival. He's the youngest recipient ever of that award because he's like...
What is that award?
2012. It's a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
In 2012.
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, he does work a lot.
Yeah. In 2016, he makes his directorial debut in a movie called American Pastoral, which was essentially like either he directed it or nobody else would.
Yeah.
Because it kept losing directors, and finally he was very passionate about making that film.
I wonder why people kept dropping out of it. I mean, I guess like the text is a really hard...
Yeah, it's based off of... Is it Philip Roth?
Yeah, Philip Roth. It's like a really famous novel, I guess.
Yeah, and Philip Roth's novels are notoriously difficult to adapt.
I like how, like, for his first try, he was like, yeah, this really, difficult.
I mean, I get it. You're passionate about something, whatever. But,
it flopped.
Yeah, it did not do well. And then in 2017, he was on the third season of Fargo. I will be perfectly honest. He was not my favorite part of that season. I thought he was good, though. I did think he was good. I thought he was he played twins.
Right.
I thought he was a little better as one brother than he was as the other.
Huh. It's a lot of work, okay?
Yeah. No, absolutely. He actually received the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a miniseries of television film.
Cool.
Also, all throughout this, he has never left the stage. From June of 2005 to April of 2007, which is a really long run.
Yeah.
He was starring alongside Jane Krakowski, Douglas Hodge, and Jenna Russell in Guys and Dolls in London, which started out at the Donmar Warehouse and transferred to the Piccadilly Theatre. He played the lead role of Sky Masterson.
What a dream cast.
Yeah, and he received... This is a weird thing. He received the LastMinute.com Award for Best Actor for his performance in 2005. He was also nominated for a Laurence Olivier Award for Best Actor in a Musical in 2007. And then from December of 2007 to February 2008, he was Iago in Othello and Donmar with Chiwetel Ejiofor as Othello and Kelly Riley as Desdemona. Which,
Jesus.
Yeah. They recorded that for BBC Radio.
Rodrigo, come hither. If thou be as valiant as they say base men being in love have their nobility and their natures more than is native to them, list me. The lieutenant tonight watches on the court of guard. First I must tell thee this. Desdemona is directly in love with him.
With him? Why, it is not
Lay
possible.
thy finger thus, and let thy soul be instructed. Mark me with what violence she first loved the Moor, but for bragging and telling her fantastical lies, and will she love him still for prating? Let not thy discreet heart think it.
During all this too, and this is a weird thing that he just sort of does. Part of it is charity work, part of it is entertainment for himself. He's done 2 very long motorcycle trips that BBC has filmed. He began as a motorcyclist in his youth. So he took up a marathon of international motorbike trip with his best friend Charlie Borman and cameraman Claudio Von Planta in 2004. From mid-April to the end of July, they traveled from London to New York via Central Europe, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Russia, and Canada.
Say that again. From UK to New York.
Yes.
Like, I just want everyone listening to really let that sink in. Like, it's like going around the world, but like, the other way.
The other way. Exactly. The trip includes visits to several UNICEF programs along the route and form the basis of the television series and best-selling book, both called Long Way Round.
I was just looking at these little wooden houses, and they're from another time. It's like time travel. We watched this old lady carrying buckets of water on a stick across her back. I mean, I don't know if it makes you appreciate what we have or not. You know what I mean? Why do I assume that because I've got a tap and stuff, it's better?
Long Way Round team reunited in 2007, and they went from Scotland to Cape Town in South Africa. The journey, entitled Long Way Down, lasted from the 12th of May to August 5th of 2007. McGregor's brother Colin joined the motorcycle team during the early stages of the Long Way Down journey. His father Jim also rode on sections.
Wow, like, imagine if, like, from May to August, that's like what, May, April, June, July, like that's 4 or 5 months just on your motorcycle going halfway across the world, like delivering aid and help to these UNICEF locations. That's fucking boss.
And that's not all. In 2012, he appeared in a 2-part BBC documentary called Ewan McGregor Cold Chain Mission, where he traveled on boat, motorbike, plane, and on foot to deliver vaccines to children in remote parts of India, Nepal, the Republic of Congo. The trip was part of his UNICEF ambassador work. So he's done a lot of amazing work in terms of that.
He got married pretty young, right?
Yeah. He gets married to Eve Mavrakis, a French-Greek-Jewish production designer whom he met on the set of Kavanaugh QC in 95. Together they have 4 daughters.
Amazing. Imagine
daughters.
4 daughters and your dad, Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. One of them's adopted from Mongolia. They live in Los Angeles, California.
Right.
But then they relocated to north of London. He's raised his daughter in the Jewish faith from his wife, and he's actually said that he's considers himself more Jewish than he does Christian nowadays.
Wow.
But as of May of last year, he separated from his wife and actually started dating Mary Elizabeth Winstead, whom he met on Fargo. And in January of this year, 2018, McGregor actually filed for divorce of his wife, citing irreconcilable differences.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, charity works. The UNICEF, he's been a UNICEF ambassador for a very long time. He hosted the annual Hollywood Gala for the Go campaign in 2009 and 2010. And he works with the Children's Hospice Association in Scotland. And, you know, he gives a lot to charities, especially around UNICEF, especially having to do with getting medicine to children. And I don't know, I think that's commendable. And it's always nice, as we've mentioned before, to bring up the charity work that some of these actors do.
Sure.
I think he's one of the only actors we've done so far that has not been nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, I think that's kind of surprising in some ways because...
some of the high-profile work that he does...
Right. And some part, like, his movies that he's been in have been nominated for Oscars.
Right.
But he just never has been able to clinch a nom. He got nominated for a Golden Globe for Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
And I think he won it because of the separation of the musical comedy and then, But when it came to the Oscars, he didn't even get a nomination, but Nicole Kidman did. Same thing that happened in The Impossible.
Yeah.
Naomi Watts got nominated for an Oscar. He didn't. In Beginners, Christopher Plummer got nominated for an Oscar. He didn't. So he's kind of always on the edge, surrounded by...
In 2010, he was given, I'm not going to try and do this in French, but he's a Knight of the Order of the Arts and Letters in France.
Cool.
And he was appointed an officer in the Order of the British Empire in 2013. So, he's getting accolades, just not here in America. And also, just real quick before we move into anything else, he's mentioned in 2007, and I think to much surprise to everybody, that he'd given up alcohol. And he claimed that he'd been a functioning alcoholic for years.
And I can see that.
But and he said as of 2007, he'd not had a drink in 7 years. And then 2008, he actually had a cancerous mole removed from underneath his right eye, which I didn't know about.
I didn't know that either. I did know about he had stopped drinking, and from the interviews I read, he basically was like, listen, they spent a year making Moulin Rouge, and he said it was so much fun, but that he was truly a wild monster person. Like, just going out all the time and getting shit-faced. And, I mean, he says, like, it was a lot of fun, but at the end of it was like, you could either give up work, give up your wife, or give up the booze, and the booze is the only thing that he was willing to give up, to continue being able to work at the level he was working at. And, like, good for him. He, made a decision that works for him, and he knows his body was telling him stuff, and he listened.
Are you never tempted now?
No.
You're not?
I'm too happy without it. Really, really. I don't notice it now. It's funny. It's a concept that's difficult to grasp unless you're living it. And it's just my life. I don't drink and I don't miss it. I don't walk around as a guy going, oh my God, I really would like to have a drink, but I mustn't. I just don't drink. I don't want to. I don't miss it.
Speaking of his body, he's a person who's very aware of his body.
Yes.
I do want to say, I tweeted something out earlier this week that I felt bad for after doing more research on him. Ewan McGregor is not afraid to show off his Ewan McGregor in films.
His junk.
Yeah, his junk. In the early part of his career, he did a lot of nudity. I mentioned Young Adam, Velvet Goldmine, The Pillow Book, and I'm trying to think of the fourth one, but there's 4 films. If you're that hard up to see him nude, and they're all great movies to watch.
You might be.
Because the media are so crass and shallow, it's become a sort of joke about me, which I don't like. I think it's a film represents life, and life involves nudity, at both ends of the day for me. And if you're lucky, somewhere in the middle. And so if films really truly represent life, why on earth would we not have naked people in movies? I mean, it's just... And also at that point when I started in the early 90s, we were coming out of that, girls were always having to show their boobs in movies, and it's changed, thankfully. But at that point, I really felt that, fuck it, why should... We never see men, we never see... Yeah. We never see a penis in anything. Why don't we do that? See that? So I've just always thought that it's really... I'm always really connected to my work. I think the work's important, and nudity and the naked body and sexuality and are all very important things to us as people, and a huge drive in what makes us tick as people, our sexual life. And so I think that's important to explore in work. I've always been happy to do that. It's embarrassing to do if it doesn't have that sort of weight behind it. And to sort of demean it by Ewan McGregor's naked again, I was just annoyed by that. I think it's a shame. But whereas violence and bloodshed, and that doesn't upset anybody. I mean, that really, I don't want to see someone's intestines. That upsets me. But if I see someone's penis, that's fine. I don't care, I don't want to see guts and decapitation, but I'm quite happy to watch someone have sex.
He's had, on average, 4 movies out every year since, 96 or something crazy.
Yeah. And it's a good time to remind everybody, he's 47.
Yeah.
So, he's very prolific.
Yeah, he has still a lot to go.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of movies to get through. And I also wanted to rewatch Beginners, but I just didn't get around to it because I was like, I just want to watch new stuff.
I don't think I really rewatched anything, which was unfortunate. I almost rewatched Little Voice, but I couldn't get anybody to watch it with me. So
that's not a movie for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Watch this thing I like.
I did rewatch I Love You, Philip Morris, just because I was like, I know I'm going to enjoy that.
We've now twice done people to rewatch it, and I've not had the urge to rewatch it, so I just think I don't like that movie.
I like it a lot.
That's fine.
But I think it's just because it's Texas nonsense and shenanigans.
Before we move into our picks, I do have some quick questions, because I've developed a sort of just a theory on Ewan McGregor's acting, and we are here to talk about his acting. So what do you think of him as an actor?
I think he has that very specific charm. He reminds me a lot of there was always at least one straight guy in high school who was the nice straight guy, or the nice straight guy who could hang, who wasn't afraid of kissing a boy and being chill about it, because Ewan McGregor will kiss a boy.
Yeah,
for sure.
And actually, just a sidebar, one of the things I really appreciate him, because I've seen him play gay, Pillow Book, he has a lot of sex with men, Velvet Goldmine, I Love You, Philip Morris, and I even watched this really, really abysmal film that he's not in very much called Scenes of Sexual Nature, where he plays a gay man, and he never sinks to a mince, or
never.
He just playing, and like you have no idea as a queer audience, as we're both, how appreciative I really am of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's almost like people get. I mean, obviously, like with all the Scarlett Johansson like shit, like taking roles away from like queer actors or trans actors and stuff. With him, it feels like he's playing with such respect. Yeah, it doesn't bother me for whatever reason. Beyond that, I think he is that special type of character who, like, when it's time to play charming, like in Down with Love.
Oh my god,
his smile. Brilliance. But also, like, when it's time for him to play, like, maybe a little more dastardly or plain evil, there's something unsettling. Who do we talk about? Oh, it's unsettling. Oh, Stanley Tucci. Yeah. Has the same thing. It's unsettling when they're playing against type, and it's so good.
So, what I agree with everything you said, and actually I'm glad, like, I really kind of like the comparison the straight guy can hang. But, like, but you did bring up theater, and I think, and this is not a knock by any means, but I get scared that people might interpret this as mean or me saying that, like, I don't think he's good, because I think he's extremely good. But he is not one really for a subtle performance. He's a very theatrical performer. And I think sometimes when you put him in a more nuanced role, he, like, loses a little bit of what makes him so good.
Like, what, I'm trying to think of, like, a movie where maybe, cause I'm thinking of all the moments where he's, like, had to, like, yell. Like, I'm thinking, like, obviously, like, Star Wars when he's like, you were supposed to save, like, that's a classic, in The Impossible when he does that phone call to, like, his family and he breaks down and it's amazing.
Henry?
Maria and Lucas are not here.
What do you mean, not there?
The water came and swept everyone away. And I found Thomas and Sam and Lucas up. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to look for them.
Henry, calm down.
Henry? Look, I have to go because lots of people need to use this phone, okay? That's the toilet.
And like, those are all good, and those are great examples, but I still feel like there's like a slight bigness to them. Like, even in Young Adam, which is a very dour movie, he plays everything, there's a scene where towards the beginning, and I don't want to give too much away about that movie because that movie is really interesting in the way it unfolds, but they find a dead body at the beginning of the movie. Right. And he starts, one of the first scenes, he, like, starts, like, trying to figure out maybe what happened to this dead body, and like, he starts rambling off how she could have died.
I think she went to a bridge fully dressed and stood there breathing the warm night air. And she took off her jacket and folded it neatly on the ground. And then she unbuttoned her blouse. And then undid her brassiere. Let it drop down on top of the other clothes. And then she'd unroll her stockings and hold them out so that they blew in the breeze like pennants before she let them float off into the night. And she'd shiver and ask herself if she really wanted to go through with this, and she'd answer that question by kicking her clothes into the river.
And it still feels like a slightly enhanced performance. I was telling my friend Connor about this, and he was like, oh yeah, like a Hugh Jackman. Yeah. And I do think there is a quality there, which once again is not a negative thing, but perhaps that's why people don't always flock towards him in terms of, like, thinking about giving him an award for his filmic portrayals.
Right. I think he knows what he does very well. Yeah. And he knows how to dial it up to 11. Like, I mean, God, think about Velvet Goldmine. When he's on stage, when you first see him as Kurt Wilde, I was like, I'm at a concert. Yeah. And he's fully lived in as this person. Even in Trainspotting. Yeah.
But there's nothing small about that performance.
Yeah. Right. And those two movies, there's nothing really small there. Maybe in Velvet Goldmine towards the end.
Trainspotting is the other movie he's nude in. Duh.
He's nude in that?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay. But yeah, it's, I think part of his, like, magnetism is he has, like, this wild energy. Yeah. I mean, thinking about, like, Moulin Rouge, like, being able to...
Yeah, and that's, like, he's perfect for Moulin Rouge or Down with Love or Velvet Goldmine or these sort of bigger than life portrayals. But there is something, like, it's not theatrical. Like, sometimes a really good example actually is, I don't know if you saw the movie Night Watch, which was, it's really abysmal, but it's, like, him in a lot of scenes, him and can't think of his name, Josh Brolin. And it's interesting because Ewan McGregor has decided to sort of play down in that movie, still kind of broad, but down further. And Josh Brolin is just like playing to the rafters, just like everybody in the back row is going to know what's going on. And it's a god awful performance from him.
They know who it is?
They have a suspect.
Who is it?
The wrong guy, I guess. I guess they got the wrong guy.
I want to narrow that down just a little bit. Which wrong guy is it?
It's me.
You. You think it's you? Oh, boy. Boy, they got the wrong guy.
And it's interesting to watch that Ewan McGregor still has that sort of like theatrical brightness to him, but he can sort of pull it in. But it still didn't, maybe nuance isn't the right word, but it's never small.
Yeah, and the more I think about it, you're right, but I wonder if it's just because he's a fucking star.
Yeah, it could be. He does have that quality.
He shines too bright. And he shall not apologize.
Well, for that, then I say, why don't we move into our 5-star reviews?
Okay, 5-star reviews coming up, hot and fresh. I'm gonna go first because I'm just gonna.
Because it's your apartment.
Because it's my apartment and I'm melting. No, it's like, listen, I watched all these movies and I was like, oh wow, blah, blah, blah. But literally, it just doesn't fucking matter because the answer is Moulin Rouge, okay? Like, that, when I first saw that movie, it was at that moment where I knew, I am a gay man. And I love life. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, or what's
that's the American dream.
Oh, right. Beauty, truth, and love. Hello.
Yeah.
Moulin Rouge. I mean, how much do we need to talk about Moulin Rouge? You know, it came out in 2001. Baz Luhrmann, Nicole Kidman, Elephant Love Song medley. Like, I fully went to the Alamo Drafthouse to watch a sing along.
How did that go?
It was amazing. Like I mentioned earlier, Variety released a actors on actors interview with Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor, and they like caught up. Literally, Moulin Rouge came out like 17 years ago, which is
no, shut up,
horrifying.
Yeah.
There is literally now a Broadway musical coming to Broadway.
Yes, which has been playing Boston, and I know several people who've seen it, including my friend Joe Reed, who listens to this show. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
And liked it.
Yeah.
Thought it was good.
Yeah.
I don't remember what Joe said about the guy playing.
It's Aaron Tveit.
Yeah, but from most of the reviews I've heard, he's no Ewan.
Yeah, who could be? So essentially, if you haven't seen Moulin Rouge, it's this great tragic comedy romance musical like on meth.
It's spectacular.
Yeah. It's the story about, Ewan McGregor's character, Christian.
Yeah.
Christian, if you will. And he is a writer, and he moves to Paris to become part of the Bohemian Revolution, to follow truth, beauty, love. And he gets involved with Toulouse-Lautrec, played by
John
Leguizamo, so good. And they want to write this big show, and they need to convince Harold Ziedler to produce it. And to do that, he needs to woo and convince Satine, which is Nicole Kidman,
she's a courtesan.
And she just wants to be a great actress.
Right. She wants to stop fucking for money.
Yeah, and so there's a case of mistaken identity. She thinks she's fucking the Duke, who is going to pony up the money to produce the show. But instead she falls in love with Christian, who's a poor writer.
A life without love, that's terrible.
No, being on the street, that's terrible.
No, love is like oxygen.
What?
Love is a many splendid thing. What? Love lifts us up where we belong. All you need is love.
Please don't start that again.
All you need is love.
A girl has got to eat.
All you need is love.
She'll end up on the street.
All you need is love.
Love is just a game.
And they just have this big love affair, and it's fun and loud and crazy, and it's part of Baz Luhrmann's kind of like
his Red Curtain trilogy.
Correct. the other two being Romeo and Juliet, and the first one was
Strictly Ballroom.
Strictly Ballroom, yeah.
Sorry, I was a big Baz Luhrmann fan as a teen, so I know all this.
I mean, we all shopped at Hot Topic as teens,
yes, exactly.
So we were really into Baz Luhrmann, okay? I watched Australia.
I did, and I like that movie, and that's neither here nor there. Anyway,
this movie, I think this movie really showcases... I mean, first of all, I think a lot of work went into this movie. Him and Nicole said that they worked a year on this movie. They did 2 weeks of workshopping, went away for a while, came back, workshopped it more, learned all their singing and dancing that ended up getting cut from the film anyway.
Songs that ended up getting cut from the film. Ewan McGregor talks in one interview that he had decided that at the end he should sing I Can't Live If Living is Without You. And they even recorded it. And then they were like, no, this is too cheesy. So
I mean, the whole movie is just like overload. Like I've heard critiques of the movie that it's just like lots of cuts and high energy. It like is too much overload.
Yeah.
But I fucking love it. It is a truly fantasia and feast for your senses.
It's funny. That movie has had like I feel like as I've gotten older, a weird sort of reappraisal from people. I feel like we've moved back to where it's, especially with the musical coming out, like, with the stage show, the pendulum has swung back towards favorable, but for years and years and years.
Yeah.
I had friends when I told them that we were doing Ewan McGregor, they were like, oh, you guys aren't going to talk about Moulin Rouge, are you?
We absolutely are.
And like, I actually like Moulin Rouge, so I don't know. I haven't watched it in a really long time. I might find it nauseating now, but like, I don't know. There's something very special about 18-year-old Gavin, because that's when it came out for me. Mm-hmm. And like, I skipped school to go see it. I was obsessed. So like,
the movie, I think the movie is totally worthy of obsession because it is a brilliant mashup of like modern sensibilities with like old time, just like the yearning for love and beauty.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonder to behold. Yeah. There's a lot of like crazy.
It's very kinetic. Like you genuinely wonder how an editor achieved the sort of like speed and accuracy. It's sort of funny. In watching The Island, I felt like I was watching the exact opposite because I began to think that Michael Bay doesn't know how images connect to each other. And like, that's one of the things that like, as frantic as Moulin Rouge seems, it's like masterly plotted in the way that, I mean, I'm an editor, that's my trade. So like, when I look at that, like, I don't know, I can see how the pieces fit together. And I think that's, I don't know.
And it's not even just like the moving picture, but like the sound editing on it. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of like gags and whistles and things that go on. I will also say, I think Ewan is very funny in the movie. But on the opposite end, he is able to tap into that theatrical sadness and tragedy. When he, at the very end, Satine tells him to go away because she doesn't want him to get killed. Yeah. And he like bursts through on stage. Like, literally, as the show is going on, it throws money down at her and is like, I've paid my whore. Thank you for curing my ridiculous obsession with love. I, as a teenager,
line reading,
fully bawling my face off. Like, I did not rewatch this movie because I have fully watched it 50 times.
Yeah.
I could, like...
Louie, are you gay?
Very. Last time I watched it with my good friend Shaddy, and I didn't even know that I was doing this. I was doing, like, the breaths that Nicole Kidman does, like, perfectly in sync because it's just so intrinsically...
This year at your birthday, just to give a special shout out to you.
Oh my God, you're right.
We were like shouting the Elephant Love Medley.
Literally, the entire bar. Like, we had climbed up onto it.
Yeah.
Fully screaming out. Yeah.
It was a good birthday.
I mean, you only turned 30 once.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, enough of Moulin Rouge. Gavin, please, tell me what you've chosen.
I want to go with his other, musical that I love so much, which is Velvet Goldmine.
Oh, cool.
And Velvet Goldmine is, Todd Haynes' film, which is, it's a sort of fake autobiography of David Bowie.
Right.
Mixed with Citizen Kane. There's some shots directly out of Citizen Kane, but it's essentially about this glam rock sort of punker. Starts out as a mod character named Brian Slade, who's the David Bowie sort of stand-in, and this movie like
played by Matthew Rhys, right?
Yeah, or Jonathan Rhys Meyers.
Why did I fucking say Michael?
I don't know.
Okay, it's fine.
Played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, and it sort of follows his career. It's like the rise and fall, sort of as you would for Ziggy Stardust, as you will. But the main storyline is actually Christian Bale playing a journalist named Arthur Stewart, who is trying to track down Brian Slade, who disappeared after faking his death on stage.
He plotted a fake murder on himself.
To sort of kill off this character he'd created for himself. It's very dramatic. And
terribly.
And in the process of doing this, he starts interviewing people that were connected to Brian Slade, including his ex-wife, Mandy Slade, played by Toni Collette, and his ex-lover, Kurt Wilde, played by Ewan McGregor, who is effectively, if you were to do the David Bowie story, he's a combination of Lou Reed and Iggy Pop. He looks a lot like Iggy Pop, but he's really sort of fulfilling the Lou Reed.
He also,
portion.
though, looks a lot like Kurt Cobain.
Oh, at the fucking end of the movie, he looks exactly like Kurt Cobain, and it kills me that he never got a chance to play him because now he's too old.
Right.
Unless you're doing a fucking Somewhere Beyond the Sea thing.
Right.
It's not.
I think I read somewhere that Courtney Love was also being like, what the fuck? Why you guys are that is Kurt Cobain.
Right.
I mean, it's not, but also
yeah,
he looks exactly like him, and his name is Kurt, but
yeah. And then also the movie has all these, besides Citizen Kane as a focal point and David Bowie as a focal point, it also has all these Oscar Wilde things, beautiful Oscar Wilde quotes. It's very dreamy. The whole movie moves kind of like a dream. It's very frank about its sexuality. Kurt Wilde is a very sexually active. He basically fucks anything that moves.
Yeah, he's free.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild because it's set up when he goes to America, they're like, who do you want to meet? And he's like, Kurt Wilde.
Yeah.
And when he sees Kurt Wilde, it's he is that American crazy, whip his dick out on stage.
On his stage. It's funny, I told you this when we first picked Ewan McGregor. Todd Haynes said in an interview that he all he asked Ewan to do was to moon the audience.
Right.
And then he did that, and he was like, great, keep it in the film.
Right.
And it's just really beautiful. And you really believe that there was love between Brian Slade in so much that Brian Slade could give love to somebody that was not himself,
right.
Which is probably why supposedly David Bowie really hated this movie and refused to see it and was but I almost feel like that's part of the Citizen Kane sort of the William Randolph Hearst
right.
The myth of the film. But yeah, so Kurt Wilde was his lover. It's this disastrous love affair leads, they set out to change the world.
They end up only changing themselves.
Look, man, I don't know who you've been talking to or what you're after here, but...
What?
Listen, a real artist creates beautiful things and puts nothing of his own life into them, okay?
Is that what you did?
No. We set out to change the world. Ended up just changing ourselves.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing. If you don't look at the world.
It's labyrinthian at points, it just all over the place.
It's so stylish. There's a lot of magical realism.
Yeah. Glitter everywhere, all the time.
Everywhere. It also just made me think man, rock stars used to be so fucking fun.
Right. I just think it's really beautiful and totally that was probably because it came out just a little before Moulin Rouge, probably my Moulin, watching that and being boys.
It's funny because I think in both of these movies, it really showcases his frenetic, wild energy. Yeah. I guess like you mentioned, this was one of the first movies he had an American accent.
Yes. Oh, and I was going to talk about that. I don't think Ewan McGregor can do an American accent. And that's what I was worried about. Because that feels a little meaner than maybe I should be saying. But he does an American accent, and for the most part, he's playing characters that are sort of bigger than life, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Velvet Goldmine, Big Fish, these are roles where it doesn't matter if he's sort of. But he does an American accent like a person who thinks all Americans talk like this. And it's so...
You can hear him trying.
Yeah, and it grates on me.
I think what it is though, his voice is so like mellifluous, just like it's like a melody, everything.
Yeah.
And so when he doesn't any accent outside of American, because there's no romance in American accent,
right?
But Australian, Scottish, British, Southern,
and you can hear the upturn still in his voice, even when he's not,
right.
But like for the character of Kurt Wilde, I actually think it works because Kurt Wilde is a performance,
right?
And even when he's like not performing, he's performing. I
love the movie. It's if you haven't seen it, it's like a special find. I think, for
and
sure.
just full of the best fucking music. I mean, David Bowie wouldn't let them use any of his music, but like you have Brian Eno and Venus and Furs and Lou Reed music in it, and just their version of Babies on Fire, while not as good as the original Eno version, is still amazing. And plus Jonathan Rhys-Meyers does the David Bowie thing of like pretending to go down on him while he's playing his guitar. It's just so well done.
The movie's it's like I said, it's very special for sure.
Were there other films that you saw that you particularly liked?
I want a controversial pick, I know, but I just watched The Impossible, and
I don't think The Impossible's bad.
Well, I mean, so I think The Impossible is a movie that is about one family and their journey or tragedy, reconciliation during the 2006 Indian Ocean disaster in like Thailand and Southern Asia. The movie didn't make a lot of, no pun intended, waves in the United States. I think a lot of people were like, why are we talking about one white family for this thing? And so I stayed away from the movie, honestly. I stayed away from it, but I finally got around to watching it for this, and holy shit, this movie, directed by J.A. Bayona.
Yeah.
First of all, what I didn't know, and I don't think a lot of Americans know, this is a Spanish movie.
Yeah.
Jay is a Spanish director. The entire production company was from Spain. The producers heard Maria Belon, who was the original family that this is based on was a Spanish family, and she went on radio to talk about her what happened to her family, and producers heard her and they contacted her, and she ended up co-writing the movie.
Yeah.
Was with them while filming, giving
it's so funny too, because when that was found out, then it was like, okay, still white family, like why are they not a Spanish family?
Right. Maria Belon apparently said she loved Naomi Watts so much, and she asked for her to play her in this movie.
Yeah.
That neither here nor there. The movie is incredible.
Yeah, it's well
beautifully done.
Yeah.
This movie is just visceral, and if anything, this movie is just like a reminder of like, what the fuck, like Katrina and Sandy and all these things that keep happening. Like, the most horrifying part of this movie is when Ewan McGregor is fully walking around uncovering body bags to see if his family is in any of them, and the camera just zooms out, and there's hundreds and hundreds of body bags, and I just thought, the first thought was like pure horror.
Yeah. I love, controversially, because I know some people really hate this movie, and I've heard from people that they think it's boring as well, but I think it just touches something. I lost my father about 10 years ago, and Big Fish is a movie that reminds me of him.
Yeah.
And I really love that, and I really like Ewan McGregor's performance. I think it is big in body, but it's also like really touching and heartwarming. And I think it's really plays well off of Albert Finney, who plays the older version of him, performance. I don't want to talk too much about Big Fish, but the moment that he sees Alison Lohman at the circus and everything freezes.
Beautiful filmmaking.
Yeah. And just, one of probably the last time Tim Burton made a movie.
I was gonna say, I was like, oh, this is Tim Burton, like, not being a complete crazy person.
Yeah, it's like last gasps of like
control, creativity.
Yeah. Not everything was on a green screen. Well, that scene, particularly, one of the things I love about it is there's CG in that scene, but the actors are mimes. So it's not like they froze them. They just stopped moving. Which I loved.
Daffodils.
They're your favorite flower.
How did you get so many?
I called everywhere in 5 states. I told them it was the only way to get my wife to marry me.
You don't even know me.
I'll have the rest of my life to find out.
I mentioned Young Adam earlier, and I really like Young Adam, and him and Tilda Swinton, so like lots of Scottishness and lots of sex that's not romantic. And I'm trying to think... Trainspotting's great. Trainspotting's great. I mean, obviously, how could you not talk about...
Doesn't it make you proud to be Scottish?
It's shite being Scottish! We're the lowest of the low!
The scum of the fucking earth! The most wretched, miserable, servile, pathetic trash that was ever shot into civilization. Some people hate the English, I don't. They're just wankers. We, on the other hand, are colonised by wankers. Can't even find a decent culture to be colonised by. We're ruled by effete arseholes. It's a shite state of affairs to be in, Tommy, and all the fresh air in the world won't make any fucking difference.
And then another movie that The Pillow Book, which I mentioned earlier, also great.
There are so many publishers in the world. Why worry about this one?
I have my reasons.
I suspect it's because he rejected you so swiftly, and few people, if any, have ever done that.
Perhaps.
But if you're so determined to be published by him, the publisher who rejects you and who loves me, then I have a plan.
And another movie that I saw today, actually, one of the last movies I watched, which is not a great movie, but a really good piece for him, which is The Last Days in the Desert, in which he plays both Jesus and Satan.
Right. That's one of the movies that I wanted to watch. So it's
small, it's short, it's like an hour and a half, and like it's nice, but like the plot feels a little bit like Jesus' marriage counselor, which I thought was a weird choice, but whatever. But yeah. So I guess that brings us to our 1-star reviews.
Yes. There was one far and away movie that I just was like, holy shit, this is garbage. And that is Eye of the Beholder.
Oh. I've not seen that in years, but I have seen it.
And this is a 1999 mystery thriller film, but what I like to call like my least favorite genre of movie. It's like the sexy cyber thriller.
Yes.
So there's always like, and these were very popular in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where like, ooh, the internet, crazy, sexy, and like honestly, everyone was just trying to be the Matrix, and they were not.
This is prior to the Matrix, I think. So.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, then the Matrix stands on these shoulders. Eye of the Beholder, also starring Ashley Judd, which honestly, I saw this movie and now I'm seeing in these Me Too eyes, this movie is trash because for a lot of it, Ashley Judd is getting naked for no reason.
Yeah.
And her character is trash. And there's a lot of shots of her in the tub, just like kind of luxuriating for no reason. And all this is like, and she's also in the rain a lot for no reason.
I've said this for years. We did not treat Ashley Judd well enough.
Absolutely not. He plays Steven Wilson. He's like some sort of FBI dude. Like his code name is the Eye. And he's like this intelligence agent, and he's like just very good at like spying on people and getting the info back to HQ, whatever. Also, he happens to casually be haunted by his daughter. And like it's really fucking annoying. He has a lot of moments where he's like, "Stop it! Get out!" And she's like, "Daddy, what's going on?" Like, it's fucking awful. Essentially, Katie Lang is in this movie.
Yeah, I just read that. I don't remember her in the movie at all.
She's like his Q, you know, like back at headquarters. Yeah. And she's like, "What's going on?" He has an assignment to go follow around some rich dude. So he does. Turns out Ashley Judd kills him while he's watching, but for some reason, he's just so magnetically attracted to Ashley Judd, he just decides to follow her, and he literally follows her around the country for a long time. Like, he has different hair as the movie goes on, so that signals to me that it's been years. Ashley Judd, like, ends up, for some reason, she's crying a lot, and, you know, she ends up marrying, like, a blind guy. Ewan McGregor, who's still stalking her, is like, no! And so he, like, gets him killed, essentially, and follows her to Alaska. It is the most batshit crazy movie, and I don't even know if there's anything resembling a plot that makes sense here. He is not good. Ashley Judd is treated like shit. The mystery haunted daughter, I don't know what that was there for. It doesn't really happen, like, the second half of the movie.
This one's my daughter, I think. She was an embassy kid and was relocated or dislocated, is I think the word that they used, every 10 months. I simply came home one day and she wasn't there anymore. And 7 years later, I stopped looking for her. thing that gets me the most is that she had no choice. She simply woke up one morning and didn't have a father anymore. So I'm just a daddy who lost his little girl. And I guess you're a little girl who lost a daddy.
I almost wish I had rewatched this because I've basically banished most of that to the recesses of my brain.
It should be banished to the recesses of, like, American cinema. Truly.
I don't want to kick a guy when he's down, but my least favorite was American Pastoral. And I think part of it is the man didn't have good enough sense not to recast himself. It's just not a role he was capable of. He's too, for all of the, like, he's the correct age in reality to play the role. But, like, he's not. Like, he doesn't look like it. So you think he's too young? I think he's too young and he's too broad. He's too, like, this is a role for somebody who can play it all inside, and he can't. He just can't. So what American Pastoral is a movie about... Swede. He's Swede. He's like a very, like... Americana. Aryan-looking Jewish person who marries he's a football star who marries the prom queen, played by Jennifer Connelly.
Who also was like Miss New Jersey?
Yeah. And she's a shiksa, so she's not Jewish. And his father doesn't approve. And they have a daughter who has a stutter, who grows up to be Dakota Fanning. And she's very affected. She watches a monk self-immolate during the 60s, and it, like, scars her, and she gets very affected in the anti-war movement. And her father tells her one day, like, he doesn't want her protesting far. Why doesn't she protest at home? And so she blows up a local post office, and goes on the run, and he spends the rest of his life trying to find her. Yep. And, like, it's the trials and tribulations of that. On top of that, there's a wraparound story with David Strathairn, who is back home for his 40th,
the story is told through that lens.
Right. And
whatever happened to the Swede?
Right. Well, that's the weird part, right? So David Strathairn is, like, in this town for his 40th high school reunion, and like, the Swede wasn't even in his class. He was the older brother of a friend of his that's in the class. Right. The younger brother, played by Rupert Evans, and he, like, idolized this guy to the point of obsession, it feels like, which I'm pretty sure in the novel is, like, one of those things of, like, somebody from the outside seeing the American dream, but in the movie is played so wrong. It's just like, why?
It's a little weird.
It's weird.
It's like, he once helped me across the street.
Right.
And it's like, it's very Mean Girls, where it's like, she once punched me in the face. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And so Rupert Evans is like, oh yeah, he died, and, like, this is the story about him. Yeah. And it's supposed to be sort of like, everybody has a darkness to them. Like, everybody has, like, the American dream is never what you think it is. And but, like, what makes the choices of all that even worse is that, like, you have David Strathairn, who is a person in his 70s, up against Rupert Evans in terrible old age makeup, and it's just like, cast somebody else to play older Rupert Evans. Like, why would you do this? Especially since Rupert Evans is so baby-faced.
They did this, I mean, at the end of the movie, they show Ewan McGregor in old age. Yeah.
And it's not good either. And, like, I think what bothered me the most, I mean, it's a bad adaptation of what I've heard is a very good novel. But, like, I think what hurts it more is the emotional core there is missing, and there's scenes between him and Dakota Fanning, because he does, spoiler alert, he does run into her a couple times as she's older, and it's very emotional, but it's like I don't know, like her, whatever direction he was giving her doesn't work, and what he's giving himself is so big.
You want to protest the war? Protest it right here in Old Rimrock.
What am I gonna do? March around the post office?
Bring the war home, isn't that the slogan? Look, they gave me this award. It's just a stupid plaque, but it means one thing. If you take a stand, people notice. If you oppose the war right here, with all your strength, this is part of America too, you know.
Read Marx. Revolutions don't begin in the countryside.
We're not talking about revolution.
You're not talking about revolution.
they don't have any chemistry at all.
No, they don't.
It was almost like I could see, she was trying to be like disaffected.
Yeah.
And like aloof. And she's giving nothing to him.
Right.
And meanwhile, he's like throwing everything but the kitchen sink out there.
And that's the thing. He is so big. And it is a performance that calls for subtlety. And to make matters worse is that he's the one calling the shots.
Yeah.
And he couldn't convince himself to be subtle enough to portray this like American dream. And once again, the accent's a problem. And I feel bad like going after him for that, but like, just like, I'm an American citizen. Like, just like, oh, stop.
I will say Jennifer Connelly was very good.
Oh, Jennifer Connelly is never bad. If he is to direct again, I think there are better choices he could make. I don't want to say too much about him as a director because I don't think he made any wrong decisions. I mean, it was a very plain looking film. I didn't think there was a lot of like style in terms of that. There was occasional like old news programmy stuff. And, but yeah, I don't know. I think he just fell into the trap that most first time directors do, which is to make a film that looks as sort of generic as possible. And,
yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Were there anything else that you thought was pretty disastrous?
I mean, like I said, I watched Blue Juice, which is like a surfing movie.
Yeah.
Which he's not the lead in. Catherine Zeta-Jones is in this movie. Before, I guess, we thought she was like Latina.
Before Zorro.
Yes. Which was kind of like a very subpar movie. What else?
I mentioned Night Watch, which is a really just nasty piece of work and just not a good movie. But he's not the worst thing in it. So I did watch The Island, and I don't think it's his worst performance. It's a bad movie, but one of my favorite things about that movie is the fact that it really feels like everybody's sort of like, we know it's dumb. It almost feels like every now and then a character, whichever character's on screen at the time, be it Steve Buscemi, him, Scarlett Johansson, just like kind of turns to the camera and winks. Like, we know this is stupid.
The movie has like every hallmark of a Michael Bay movie ever.
Right.
There's like product placement.
Yeah.
They're like literally they're in like an Xbox arena.
Right.
Like they have a drink of, whatever it is. The colors, like I will say, like I would say of Michael Bay's work, like I would put like Bad Boys at the top. And then I'd put The Island.
What? The Rock or Armageddon? Like the actual good movies? The actual good movies?
Okay, first of all, Bad Boys is an excellent movie.
We've been having this argument since our second episode.
Bad Boys is excellent, and you guys can drag me all you fucking want, but you're fucking wrong.
And by guys, you just mean me. So Louie, let's quick before we move on to our fast forward, let's do our mixed reviews review.
Okay.
So my 5-star review was 1998's Velvet Goldmine.
My 5-star review was 2001's Moulin Rouge.
And my 1-star review was 2016's American Pastoral.
Mine was 1999's Eye of the Beholder.
Excellent. So let's move into our fast forward.
So we're talking about Ewan because he has Christopher Robin out in theaters now. I didn't watch it. I'm assuming you didn't get to go watch it.
I didn't watch it, but I have very specific reasons for not watching it. So I was like, oh yeah, we'll do Ewan McGregor. And like, I like Winnie the Pooh. Like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, it's directed by Mark Forrester, who's one of my least favorite directors currently working.
What's his deal?
He did The Kite Runner and Quantum of Solace and Finding Neverland, and he's just a schmaltzy hack.
Okay.
And then I saw who wrote the script, and like, it's the woman who wrote Hidden Figures, which is fine, and I can't remember the second guy who wrote something else more recent, and then fucking Alex Ross Perry, who I've never even been able to make it through one of his movies.
Who's that?
And it's hard for me to stop watching a movie. He wrote and directed this movie called Listen Up Philip a couple years ago, and I had a screener, so I was seeing it for free nonetheless too, and I turned it off. In between, he works with Elizabeth Moss a lot. He made this movie called Queen of Earth. He has this other movie coming out soon called Her Smell.
Gross.
Yeah. And I do not like him. So I was just like, you know what? This movie is canceled. And,
I didn't watch it, but also he has a new movie on Amazon right now.
Yes.
Called Zoe.
Yes.
With Léa Seydoux.
You know who else is co-starring in it?
Who?
Christina Aguilera.
Yes. Okay. So I did watch this, and I was like, That robot sure does look like... that is Xtina. That is Christina Aguilera, ladies and gentlemen, making her...
Does she ask Ewan McGregor to help her put on makeup at any point?
No, but she does ask him to do the Wagon Wheel Watusi. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Did you get to watch it?
No, I didn't, and I did mean to watch it.
It's very good. And
it's good. Interesting.
It reminded me a lot of... like Annihilation, Ex Machina, like that kind of vibe and aesthetic. Very Gattaca-esque.
I really like Gattaca.
I love Gattaca.
Strong praise.
I think Lea Seydoux is very good. Also, so beautiful, but also radiates this like quiet, fiery energy.
Yeah.
What you're feeling is a program. Machines don't really feel the way people do. Hi.
Oh, hey.
I ran a match with you and me.
I have to show you something.
You don't oversee the synthetics division at the lab. You're a creation of it. It was a test. I had no idea you would evolve like this.
If you have Amazon Prime, Zoe is streaming now for free. It's very interesting, weird, and good. So I recommend that. Well, he has upcoming next, according to IMDb, he has Dr. Sleep, which is in pre-production.
Yes, so Dr. Sleep is the Stephen King sequel to The Shining, and he's playing the adult Danny Torrance. In the book of Dr. Sleep, Danny Torrance is now a janitor at not a retirement home, but like a home for sick older people, and he sort of uses his powers to help them pass more peacefully, his like psychic powers. But also at this time, there's a group of psychic vampires who are traveling across the country.
Of course there is.
And he like befriends a little girl, and they want her like essence, and so he has to battle these psychic vampires.
Wait, is it Hocus Pocus 2?
It's Hocus Pocus 2.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's a big,
right.
That is a big one. And it's funny, he just did an interview where somebody was like, what do you think, Stephen King will think of, this, since he notoriously hated the Shining adaptation? And he's like, I think Stephen King will like it, but we're very faithful to the book, except for one big change. And I won't tell you what it is. So yeah, so what do you think, what do you learn, and what do you feel that Ewan McGregor should be doing in the future?
I mean, so the one thing I learned about Ewan McGregor is that he is such a confident actor.
Yeah.
He's given lots of interviews where he says, you know, when he was doing Trainspotting and Shallow Grave, or even like before that, like trying to get work, he was like, I had no doubt in my mind. I thought I was the shit.
Right.
And everything I was going to do was going to be amazing. And you could not tell me otherwise. And I think even with his flops, he's talked about American Pastoral. So how he was like, yeah, it's disappointing no one saw it.
You have a sort of connection with the work. I've always felt connected to my work and an ownership of it as an actor. But if a film's not done very well in this box office or whatever, I just go, okay, well, I got something out of it and the experience was rich for me and it didn't really matter. But in this case, because it was a film that I'd made, I found that was very hard to deal with, the fact that people didn't go and see it, a lot in the cinema.
But, you know, you do the work and then you move on. And
yeah. And I like that attitude about him. And hopefully there is a self-reappraisal as well as like a critical appraisal of it.
I think also he's figured out that like what he likes doing.
Yeah.
I think he was like, listen, I fucking did The Island, bought a house, and was okay. And but he has said, he likes working on these really small movies. That Jesus movie, he said, he literally knew that they didn't have a budget, so they like got him a trailer, and he was like, guys, fucking get rid of the trailer, and so we can all like have a better meal together or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
And then that movie's directed by Rodrigo Garcia, whom I, for the most part, like. He directed this movie called 9 Lives years ago that I really love, but he also directed the Anne Hathaway Passengers.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So
my 1-star review for Anne Hathaway coming back to haunt me. I think he is, now after Star Wars, after The Island, he's now doing weird small stuff that I think suits him better.
And I think when he does the bigger stuff, it's stuff that actually piques his interest, like Dr. Sleep. I don't think I don't know if he would necessarily go in to do I mean, I think he might actually, if they asked him to do an Obi-Wan movie, and I would fucking watch that because I like him, but
He would do it in a second.
But I think like, you know, something like X-Men or like a Marvel movie, I think he would think twice over doing something like, you know, something that sounds as crazy as doing like an adult Christopher Robin or whatnot.
I don't want to do work that what fires me is the kind of work that we do. It's about people and exploring human nature and how we deal with situations. And it doesn't matter to me if I can like shoot fire out of my eyes or fly through the air. It matters how do I deal with the situation in a human way, you know.
You know, it's so funny you brought up X-Men, and now I'm thinking about Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
And like they seem to be driving in the same lane.
Yeah. I think the only reason it's funny because I've been thinking a lot about it's funny, the two people I've been thinking the most about since we did Ewan was Fassbender and Anne Hathaway, because I think he has much more in common with Anne Hathaway. I do think Anne Hathaway is another big, we talked about it before, another big performance, and she's not, but she can do nuance, and that's the difference. Right. Because like I thought the monster movie she did last year was like
so
kind of a nuancy performance. But Fassbender I think is the opposite of McGregor. Because I think he shows his hand. And like I said, you watch those later X-Men movies and clearly doesn't want to be in them. But like he'll show up when he wants to.
Right. They're both like European, very handsome men, very distinctly handsome men. And when they flash that smile, whew.
And that's not all, both of them will flash.
Hi-yo.
Woo! Wow.
But yeah, I think I really hope as he continues this journey and path of his, like, he will find the movie that will finally snatch him an Oscar.
Yeah.
Because I know he has it in it.
I agree. And then on top of that, before we close out this episode, I would like to see him on stage. I really would like to see him do something, like, prominent in America on stage. Be a musical, be it a straight play. Like, I don't know, but, like, he has the chops for it. Yeah. He's great. Like I said, he's big, so, like, he can create that energy that he
command
needs.
An audience.
And like he seems to have captured those audiences in Britain. I would like to see him do something stage, you know, in America.
Right. I guess he doesn't hang out in New York too much, huh?
He doesn't really, no.
He's a big motorcycle nerd.
Yeah. So he's always traveling, and you know, he's got 4 kids, 4 daughters. Oh my God. And one of them is, he mentioned one of his daughters like pulled the trigger on the like, well, I'm 16, like why can't I drop out of school and be a photographer? Luckily he said his wife at the time was like, no,
never.
So yeah,
your father's an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's our dissection of Ewan McGregor. He's great, and I hope none of my comments are taken as negative. I just don't think that he's not like a. Like,
this is Gavin's address, guys. Please go dox him.
But yeah. I only want 1 million more downward loves from him.
Oh my God. Him and Renee Zellweger just being like...
she does not get enough credit for that movie. That 10-minute scene, that 10-minute monologue that she delivers with no cuts.
Is it the one at the end?
Yeah. It's so good. It's insane. It is insane that he got that Peyton Reed, which, by the way, at this point, we've now covered every Peyton Reed movie on this show.
Really?
Yeah. Down with Love, Yes Man, the 2 Ant-Man movies, and
Bring It On.
Bring It On. Wow. So we've now hit every Peyton Reed movie.
I guess we don't need to do an episode of him.
No, we really don't. I mean, I think he's proved we don't need to do an episode of him. But
was that shade?
Yikes! But yeah, so you
5-star review. Bring It On. 4-star review. Ant-Man. Done.
Done. I probably would give 1 star to Yes Man, as much as I don't like the first Ant-Man.
True. Okay,
Anyway.
well done. There was our mini episode on Peyton Reed.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming to the Mixed Reviews.
Absolutely. If you want to find us online, you can find us at Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
We're also on Facebook. You can just type in The Mixed Reviews. There we are.
You can email us at reviewsmixed@gmail.com.
And you can also just find us on all your favorite podcast player station things.
We're on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, and iHeartMedia, and just anywhere. And if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, we would love if you would leave us a rating and review, because it lets other people find us as well. And as much as we like you guys, like we want to meet other people. people, too.
I think I have a really fun idea for our audience. Instead of doing a Twitter poll about what your favorite performance is, we're going to do a Twitter poll about what your favorite performance of Ewan McGregor in Moulin Rouge is. Okay? Like, is it Elephant Love Medley? Is it him just looking really sad during Roxanne?
I do want to mention real quick, by the way, in terms of ratings and reviews on July 27th, we received a new rating and review from Crispy File, who is a co-host of a really great podcast called This Had Oscar Buzz. So you should check them out at Had Oscar Buzz. But he says Gavin and Louie are a lot of fun and have really sharp insights. Their balanced point of view are always refreshing and insightful.
Wow, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
I mean, I would say that about myself. Not sure about Gavin, but, you know.
I think that's the heat talking. But yes, we will be back in 2 weeks. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.